like to take a few moments to say thanks for the Kingdom, give us the opportunity to come here and put this together to show everyone what Platinum Metals offers and what product we can put on your Kingdom's customers' roofs, I guess. And it's sort of starting out with an install presentation here. Once we get through this here, we'll move inside and we can do a sales presentation of basically the differential of our product versus the box store products or our competition's products. So we'll start off here. We put this mock together, and this is focusing on standing seam here today. We do have some through-fasten. We'll touch on that just a little bit. Through-fasten is another word of saying exposed fasteners. So if you come across customers that are saying that they want to price an exposed fasten, we call it a through-fasten system instead of an exposed fasten system. So that basically leads to, we'll start off with that. We do have a panel here for that. Basically, you have your gutter apron. You have an inside closure that goes on the bottom of that. And then you have a panel. You just lay this on top here like this. I got the panel. No, that's good. That's good. Just set it down just like that. So we see it quite often. This is the number one thing that someone will, it's a cheaper product. They don't have to install. You know what I'm saying? But then you'll have termites and different things getting up in there that can cause all sorts of problems. So that's one of the things that will, with a platinum roof that comes with it. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the closures up on top. On a transition, we'll have a solid closure. At the top, we have a vented closure. There's lots of variables on a vented closure system. There's good and there's bad. The good, for an example, is when someone's price shopping as far as you guys are a lot higher. Well, this vented closure, if you look at the bottom here, it's got about a 1/4 inch to a 3/8 seal. So the water can't transfer through that and keeps it more watertight, especially on low pitch roofs. Well, no, the bottom line of it is the more you educate the customer to what degree, why we're higher priced or why you're getting a better roof from our system, this will help explain that. This right here is what you'll find at your box stores and from a lot of our competition. This here will go at your ridge vent. This would be at the top here like this here. This goes across the top of the panel like this, but it would be up at this ridge, so the ventilation goes through. This right here is what a lot of the competition will offer, and it's half price. This stuff here will stick on, it'll get on there. 5 years, not even that, you'll be able to push your finger through there, and especially if it's a low pitch roof, the water will just drain right through that, and it'll start leaking, or it just causes problems. So when we're trying to say, hey, you want cheaper, that's fine. It's out there and you can have it. You know what I'm saying? But the thing of it is we don't want to put our name on something like that, because if the customer is looking for a metal roof, they're looking for quality. They're willing to spend more money at that point because they're made aware that it's going to cost more. So let's take care of the customer. Let's eliminate as many callbacks as we possibly can as we're going through that install side of things. So another thing too is, we can get into a little bit more of that within the sales presentation, is our trim line that we offer with the through-fasten panel. Our through-fasten panel starts off at a 28 gauge before it's even painted. A lot of all the box stores and a lot of the competition offers a 29 gauge ag panel, whatever you want to call it. And then they offer a 28 gauge trim line to go with that, or 29 gauge trim line, depends on where you get it from. We offer a 26 gauge trim line for every roof. That's the minimum that we put out there. If you get a 24 gauge standing seam roof, you get 24 gauge trim. The reason why we're saying that we want to put 26 gauge trim on there is every one of these fasteners can be put in 100% right, but if that piece of trim walking up that driveway goes like this, the whole roof looks bad. So we decided that we're going to go with a little heavier gauge, 26. In the metal side of things, the lower the number, the thicker the metal. So when I'm going from 29 to 26, there's quite a bit of difference there in thickness of product there. So, and then on another key element that we use, that if you're buying a roof from us, comes with our fasteners. There's, let's take it off. Where are those fasteners at? You know, some of the other ones. Yeah. We can leave these here for you guys. As far as they're called an ultimate fastener. They have a metal cap across the washer the grommet here. And the most box stores, a lot of the competition, competitors, whatever you want to call them, they offer this fastener here. Big difference. This fastener grew up in the ag market. A lot of the roll formers come up through the ag market. When we grew up through the roofing side of things, and when we started roll forming, we focus on roofing. We're not an ag provider. We do offer the panel, or we do offer it for ag, but we're not a huge ag provider in our product line. So we really specialize in roofs. So that's why we put this fastener with our system, is because this comes with a 40-year warranty. This comes with no warranty. So, and when we're talking about what makes the difference, why you guys that much more, some simple things, small things that add up to be a really big deal. You know what I'm saying? So, talking more in the through-fasten side of things there. So, we'll move into the standing seam side of what we offer. We offer 3 different styles. The Platinum Pro comes with an 1.5-inch rib. There again, we have it a snap lock series, and we have a Platinum 2, which is a 2-inch rib. It's a little wider, so we can span 5-foot purlins places with that. Competition, competitors, box stores, their standing seam is going to be a snap lock. 98%, that's all they're going to come. That's why? It's easy, fast, cheaper. We, as far as what we bring to the table with a standing seam, someone buying a standing seam roof, we offer the mechanical seam fasten standing seam at the same price point as a snap lock. That's the benefit, whoever partners with us, that they can carry on through against the competitors or whatever it is out there. So if anyone does a little bit of research on standing seam, they won't have to research long to figure out that mechanical seam is better than the snap lock series. So, so that we train the install teams, everyone, to install the mechanical seam fasten. Therefore, they don't even, if we say we want to do a snap lock, they don't even like to install a snap lock because they're not familiar with it, and it actually takes them longer to install a snap lock. So people wonder how can you guys install that at the same price point? Well, it's because that's how we teach the crews, you know, on installing and what we bring to the table to create a differential against our competitors or the box store price points of what's out there, I guess. So, but yeah, so what we're talking about here on the mocker today is the Platinum Pro. It's the 1.5-inch rib. As you can see here, you know, you have your standard underlayments, you have your ice and water, you have your synthetic. You have some single buckle. most on all of our systems, we will offer a single bubble underlayment that goes on top of this. It's called an R foil. The reason why we do that is so if you got a maintenance or you got to get up on the roof when you're walking up in there, it also creates a little bit of a cushion there to keep any indentations from occurring from foot traffic that might be happening on the roof. Lots of times if you're doing a tear off, that single bubble will also hide some of the imperfections of maybe the cleanup wasn't, there was a staple or something that wasn't quite down 100%. By putting that single bubble over that helps offset that and makes so that keeps the indentation from showing through on that panel. It also does it gives us like an R7 R value on the roof, so it also reflects the heat from the attic. So there's multiple things that happen by us putting that on there. We're probably one of the very few that offer that with our system. Most of them, there again, they want it. If they want cheaper, then you can eliminate that. You don't have to put that on. But we're trying to eliminate callbacks. We're trying to create a happy customer by being upfront and showing them why we're doing it and explaining why the cost is more. So, but here again, you guys have the color cards of all of our product. Whatever color card you have, we have a color in stock. So we start out with there again, if it's 26 gauge standing seam, that's the most common. It goes on the residential homes. Occasionally on certain specifications, if it's new construction, or if it's a steel structure or something like that, we go to 24 gauge and to accommodate, the purlin spacings and things like that. But then, like I said, the trims will follow suit if that's the case. If it's 24 gauge, you'll get 24 gauge trims. So basically you have, a rake here, and then you have, an E trim here that you start off with here. One thing I want to bring to attention, and they'll start putting some of this on as we talk, as we go across this, but as you can see, the bottom of these panels are hemmed. All of our panels will be fastened at the ridge lines, or at the top of here. That lets this panel go back and forth, so we're not causing oil canning within the panels. This bottom may go back and forth. It will be in the gutters. Nobody's ever going to know that it ever moves. But that's the reason of that. I've already come across projects. They want standing seam roof, and all they've done is cut this off straight, and they actually have fasteners down here, and it's called a standing seam roof. I don't know how they call it. I don't know how they get away with it or what, but that happens. I don't think that's truly a standing seam roof at that point. So you can go ahead, Josh, and start putting those on. And then by hemming that over, like I said, that takes care of that, and that's another advantage of the mechanical seam roof. As you'll see, as they're installing that, there's a clip system that holds these in place, and then this panel will also be able to slide up and down on that clip system, to where if you have a snap lock and has a nailing flange, just like a piece of siding. If you're out there installing it, you know about where you need to set the nail, so the siding, you're not locking it down, causing the oil canning. Same thing with the metal roof. If you're not careful, you over tighten that, it locks the panel down, and then you can have oil canning going throughout. So by offering this system, we're eliminating that possibility of that happening. You know what I'm saying? So then, as you see here on the hip cap, these are what they call a solid Z mode. So this is what the hip cap will snap across this, close this off, so there's no water or nothing can penetrate through this area. Here again, I've already seen them where they'll just take what they call pre-trim J-channel, bend it up and then slide this in there. If it's a steep roof, they can probably get away with it. If it's a low pitch roof, what happens is that water will push back up inside there and get behind that J-channel, and it could cause a leak or problems going on. So if you look on a lot of the standing seam applications, snap lock, I think, goes down to 312 pitch, and that's where they cap it off at. And that's probably the biggest reason they cap it off with that, is because of some of their trim details they have. It's not watertight below that. Where the mechanical seaman using this here, we can go down to a half 12 pitch and not have any issues with it. So these here pieces here will be vented at the ridge line. So I'm not sure if we have one. Let me see. Do we have a vented one here, Josh? A vented Z-mode? You show them what that looks like on the ridge. Oh yeah, it's over there. How often? We're usually within 3 foot, 30 inches. Somewhere we usually try to stay between 2 foot and 30 inches. You're not supposed to exceed 36 inches with that. And at the bottom of these Z modes, this one here doesn't have it, but we usually put mastic on there. So that mastic will help seal off that bottom, so it also keeps it watertight when we're after we get this here fastened down here. So yeah, like you can see, Josh putting those clips on there now, and this panel is going to overlap. And then what happens is we have what they call a seamer that you put on here, and it goes on up through here and it seams this panel and it locks it in place. So that versus just taking something and a hammer and tapping it on and snapping it on, versus having a tool that actually mechanically seams it, you can kind of see why it's better versus the snap lock. So like I was saying earlier on, the box stores won't offer this style of roofing system. So, and I'm not sure how you guys find it as far as selling it out there. If they're comparing you guys to a box store price or a lot of the competition, they won't do this either. You know what I'm saying? Just because they feel it's more labor intense and they'd rather not get involved with it. They'll do it if someone wants to pay a premium, but other than that, they don't want to do it. So that's kind of what holds us. It gives Kingdom a really advantage point against selling the competitors by offering this system at the same price point as a snap lock. So. And then as you see them put this together, and guys feel free, if you guys got any questions, whatever, just ask or whatever. But as you're putting this together, you'll see that there is no fasteners, exposed fasteners to any of this roofing system. There will be pop rivets that get fastened, like the ridge cap here will have one each side here, and then at the top or any splice detail. But we don't have, I've already seen standing seam get put together and they end up putting their trim components on and just run Through-fasten through all their trim components. Well, it kind of eliminates the idea of that being a standing seam roof at that point. So as you can, like I said, as you see these put together, even on our panels at the top, you see that they're bent up here an inch. Actually, that's a half, so it leaves a ½ inch there. So if we have a vented Z mode here, if there's anything gets up in there, it's not getting above that. It hits there and comes back. You know what I'm saying? To help as another prevention point there. And you'll see as they come together here on the valleys, everything is hemmed. It's not like to where you just cut it off. There again, I've seen that multiple times. Is they'll cut the angle of the valley and they'll end up just running fasteners through that. Well, that's the most critical part of the valley of the roof. And you're calling it a standing seam roof, yet it's got fasteners going up through there. So it gets, we've come across all sorts of different roofs, and it feels like doing inspections like a little bit further south, maybe getting down to the Anderson area, going into the Indy market. there's a lot to be desired for from the metal roofing side of things. Here north, seems like there's a lot of people got it figured out as far as what it's supposed to look like and what it should look like and how they're going about doing things. So another thing too is, as you'll see when they're putting together like the transition pieces. You know, our transition piece is a wide piece. It's not a small piece. And our trims, we make them up to 21 foot. So most people, like when they order a package from a box store or competitors, their trims might max out at 14 foot. They might say standard trims are 10 foot long, how many you need? Well, if you got 14 foot rake, they're going to give you 2 pieces of 10 foot trims, okay? A lot of, when these roofs come into production, one of the first things we're going to ask is say, hey, what pitch is that roof? First thing we look for. So all of our trims, like our eave trims, our rakes, our transitions, everything, our ridge cap, everything is going to be bent to the angle of that roof. So if it's a 612 pitch, everything's going to get bent to a 612 pitch. And there's multiple times that we may have 2 or 3 pitches on the roof. Well, if that's the case, the gutter apron we may have 6 pieces at 612. We may have 6 pieces at 312. They'll all get labeled, and the installers know to look for that when they get out on the job site. The reason why we really focus on that is because we come from the install side of things. So when we're manufacturing the roofs, we take that seriously as far as if you take that piece of trim and you put it on there and it fits, you fasten it, you can move through it and it looks nice and clean. The less splices we have within the trim components, the cleaner it's going to look. Instead of having 2 pieces at 10 foot, you know, to accommodate a 14 foot piece of trim, we have a 14 foot piece of trim that's going to take care of that. You cut the top on the angle, cut the bottom on the angle, and it's all one piece and everything looks nice and clean. It makes it more installer friendly. There again, you know, it's kind of, we look at it from that perspective. If it's installer friendly, we're going to get better quality at the end of the day. It's like anything, if you hate doing something, it's hard to get good quality at the end of the day. If you hate doing it, probably the last thing you want to do is make a career of it. So it's the same thing with doing a roof. If you hate doing it, the last thing you want to do is drag it out 2 more days or an extra 3 hours or whatever it is. So that's the reason why we really kind of focus on each job being custom made to the angle of the roof. The trims are, like I said, up to 21 foot. Anything below 21 foot will be all one piece deal. So it goes back to the same thing as far as all the fasteners can be put in correctly, but if that trim work looks bad, the whole job looks bad. So kind of gives you an idea of what the trims that we offer and the differential of platinum metals as far as what they bring to the table as far as the angle of the roof, the pitch of the roof, and keeping it simple. Another thing that we want to talk about, and we'll see as they get into this here, is the flashing detail, the pipe boot flashing detail. You can go to Menards, you can go to Lowe's, you can go to wherever box store you want. A lot of the competitors will have a flashing detail that will go across the pipe boot. The pipe boot details, you want to look at what they're made of. You know what I'm saying? Is it a high temp boot or is it an EPDM boot? Or, we only use a high temp boot. That's all we use. In fact, let's grab this right here. So the number one thing on a metal roof that's going to fail is first thing is going to be their pipe boot. If it's installed correctly, the first thing that's going to fail is going to be their pipe boot. If they don't use a high temp pipe boot, the EPDM, within 5 years it's going to fail. The sun and stuff just, and the metal roof, it's the very first thing that goes on the roof. We see it all the time. We get calls on it all the time. We don't offer the boot. We don't sell it because for that reason. So does this boot cost more than the ones at your box stores and the competitors offer? Yes, it does. It costs probably double that. So, but we don't have issues with this. This is a silicone-based boot, and it takes care of, eliminates that problem. This boot will probably last 40 plus years, you know what I'm saying? So what we normally do with this here is, as you can see, we'll put mastic on the bottom side of this here. And we'll put that, we'll cut this top to accommodate the size of the pipe. We have different size boots. I mean, I think we go up to whether it's 24 inches in diameter. But what happens is you can put this, we'll put this here across the panel, and then it accommodates the pipe, and then we'll fasten this here, secure that. And then as a precautionary, we'll usually put a bead of sealant around the base of it. That's just, I'll be honest with you, we do it as a precautionary. That mastic right there will outlast this metal. I've taken metal roofs off that have been rusted through, and at the bottom they have this mastic, and you're still sitting there trying to pull the mastic off the bottom. So that's what, there again, that's a lot of the competitors. If you go up to the metal roof and you take off a pipe boot, there's probably just a little bit of sealant underneath there, if that. And that's one thing that will fail. Very, very simple. You know what I mean? They're easier. So we try to eliminate that from happening as much as we possibly can. So that's the reason why we put mastic on the bottom side of that. Not only do we put mastic on like the boot, but anything that touches a flashing detail that touches the panel. So whether it's a Z, whether it's one of these Z's here at the hip cap, at the ridge cap, at the transitions, and when we'll get a few minutes here, we'll turn this thing around and we'll show you guys what the sidewall and the in-wall flashing detail looks like on the back side. We have what they call a high skylight, backside skylight chimney flashing detail. That detail, as long as your skylight is not over 4 foot or your chimney is not over 4 foot, there's no need to build a cricket behind there. Because what happens on the metal side of things, if you build a cricket behind the chimney, you're creating a valley, so you're creating more trims, you're actually creating more opportunity to have something go wrong than just having this valley or this flashing detail on the back side of the chimney. So we've actually, there's times come, we actually take the cricket out of the back side of the chimney. And they're like, well, why are you guys doing that? We're like, because of this flashing detail that we have, eliminates that cricket, and you won't have any problems. I think all the years we put that flashing detail back there, I can never say that we've ever had an issue on that detail. Yeah, anything over 4 foot. Yeah, somewhere, you know, between 4 and 5 foot. It's a good idea, because then it gets to be, if you're not careful, you'll start pulling up water back there, and then that water starts to just keep building up. And if you're not careful, the water, what will happen, it'll get high enough to where it'll actually kind of get in behind the top of this Z. I've only seen that happen one time, where the water gets up and then actually kind of travels back into the Z and gets on the back side. That was on a really low slope roof, and we had a 10-foot detail like that, and that happened in that manner. So yeah, that's kind of why we say rule of thumb, anything over 4 foot, it's good to have a cricket. Other than that, you should be fine. So you guys paying attention on how they're seeing this go together. There's a niche to the trade. It's the idea of selling a metal roof, that's one thing. Producing the metal roof, that's another thing. But the install team holds the keys to what it's going to look like at the end of the day. A good install can make everything look really, really good. A bad install can make a good roofing system look really bad. So as you see on how how they're notched and how they're tucked in, folded up underneath, and put in place is the key of what looks like, how do you want to say it? A nice, clean-cut roof, you know what I mean? They're not, the roof, just because you bought a standing seam roof, if it's not installed correctly, you could be very unhappy at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So it's really, and that's kind of what we're saying is, you know, if through Platinum, by having the install arm as a turnkey, being able to install your product, you're having the manufacturer install it, so we're pretty well versed on what's good, what's not good, how it should be, how it shouldn't be, in that format. And then, like all of our sealants that we offer are all color coded. So like, you know, for a black roof or a burning slate or a charcoal or whatever it is, we all have matching caulk, matching pop rivets and things like that there. So everything, we're not a huge believer in a lot of caulk. If there's more than 2 tubes of caulk going out on the job site, we're saying what's going on. Because if we're relying on caulk, we're relying on callbacks. It's just not a good thing. We don't like to see that. We don't like to see the caulk go out. It's more or less a preventative of what do you want to say, like the pipe. It's just a precautionary. It's not the core holding it from being watertight. So we really want to keep the caulk to a minimum. If we're banking, like I said, if we're banking on caulks, we're banking on callbacks. So, but they're matching colors for all of our roof systems to help make sure that lines up in that format. So I asked a question out there. What's, from you guys' perspective, does anyone have any experience with standing seam roofs, or metal roofs in particular, that you have questions on that we would be doing, or have come across that you have a question mark of what it could be or what it should be, or anybody have any? I don't know if there's a max. We've seen some crazy things. We've already shimmed them up 4 inches, and that's too much, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? But that's the contractor wanted to take care of it, so we strung a line from end to end and got it taken care of. That's, you know, so there is ways to do that when we do purlins. The purlins, that's a good question. The purlins on the through-fasten system, we always supply purlins with every roof system. And there again, people, you know, they'll say, well, the last customer or the last contractor didn't quote that. They said it would just fasten right through the decking. Okay? They can fasten through the decking, but that decking, if they're replacing roof, is probably a minimum of 15 to 20 years old. Okay? So if I'm putting this fastener through the decking, if we're not careful by fastening this in, we'll just turn them out all of a sudden. And then what happens is you'll go inside the attic and you'll see the bottom of the screws, they'll be dripping with water. That's because of that. So that's why we're putting together the 1x4s on top. Even if we're tearing the roof off, we're securing the 1x4s. That's getting us a good seal on that grommet, keep so it's weather tight. So there again, it's driving up the cost for that metal roof. However, it's securing the metal roof. You know what I'm saying? To make sure we have a watertight fastener on that. And then by applying those 1x or 2x4s to the roof, if the roof has a little bit of a wave, we will put a string line on there. We'll shim that. We'll fasten that. We usually try to secure it every 24 inches or whatever the roof structure is to take care of that. One thing I'll advise you to be very careful is when the ridge itself does that number, that gets very, very difficult to take that out of. We can take care of some of that But what happens is if that ridge is doing this and the front side's fairly straight, you bring up the back side and all of a sudden you're coming up and you're coming in like this. You're having problems with that, trying to shim that out. So we can take maybe about a ½ inch to an inch max because we can tuck it up inside our ridge cap. You know, our ridge cap, our trim is about 7 inches wide on the ridge cap. So we can take some of that ridge bow out and tuck it up inside that ridge cap. But, you know, the thing what I always say is you can tell the customer we'll definitely make it look better than what it is. But however, obviously looks like you may have some structure going on here. If it has been resolved, we'll take care of it. And it's definitely going to look way better than what it is right now. Don't expect a perfect rough, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. That was a very good question.
Are the screws that you guys are using the hard top on, are they put any of the gasket or the other screws on popping up? Like if you overdrive those screws, I'm assuming the gasket.
Yeah, you won't pop these up. Yeah, we'll leave the bag here. But yeah, this will actually go down, and the screw is actually the washer underneath there is actually a double, so it gives you double the cushion when you go down to fasten that. It won't pop that up. No. And that was another thing. When we do our through-fasten, we use all 2-inch fasteners. So we're penetrating that 1x4 board. We're penetrating the sheeting and getting into the attic with that fastener. So you can imagine that fastener every 9 inches, 24 inches, however you want to look at it underneath there, that roof is secure. So that's another big thing. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're only using an inch fastener and you're screwing through an existing deck, there's not much holding power there. You know what I'm saying? To hold that thing secure. That roof is probably going to fail in a few years just because of that. It's not going to seal off. And that's some of the reason why we have the myth of the metal roof is, you know, not as good as what people think that it should be. You know what I'm saying? It's because of the install, and a lot of the metal roof on the roll forming metal side of things come up through the agriculture business. You know what I'm saying? Come up from, you know, the dairies, the hog operations and things like that. And then people started just taking that and applying it to the roofs. Well, it's a different ball game. You know what I'm saying? You know, if it's dripping in on the dairy or on the hogs, it's not as big of a deal if it's dripping into your kitchen table. You know what I'm saying? So that makes a big deal. So that's why when we started roll forming, we really seen the need to really focus on the roofing and the roofing systems. So that's why you're probably going to pay a little bit more to have a metal roof installed from Kingdom Roofing than you are from a lot of your competitors, and that's the big key.
So what's the process if you were to say, that you tearing the entire thing off up to that, roof something to get to that to replace that?
No, we can replace the panel. Yep. It's a little bit of a process. It's not fun to do, but it can be done. Yep. No, it's not. It's a challenge, but it's doable. You know what I'm saying? The thing you'll find out is from a metal roof, and that's why insurance will give you breaks on your premiums and things like that, is because you're going to have a hailstorm or whatever come through. Yeah, is it going to leave ding marks? It will leave ding marks. Can you get a new roof? You can probably get a new roof. However, you're not going to have water pouring in on your head. You know what I'm saying? You have a branch that falls, unless it's a huge branch that can actually penetrate through that metal and through your decking, it's probably going to hit your roof. It's going to scratch it. It's going to make a mark or whatever. Roll down your roof, you're still going to have a dry roof, or a dry roof over your head. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you'll see a lot of the insurance companies give the breaks to the premiums, because you don't have to send out emergency tarp crews to tarp things up and things like that unless it's a major, natural disaster or something in that format there. So It's a class 4 rated. You know, we have a UL ratings to go with it. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to do. No, you won't do that. And that's another thing why us installing the single bubble underneath that also cushions that. We could get a way better class hail rating just because of that side of things. You know, it's another. Go ahead. About the paint. So this is an Axle. Our paint company is an Axle Nobel paint. If you guys, the color cards you have, someone questions you on the back side of that, it talks about the Ceramistar 1050 and what the specifications are. It all comes with a 40-year warranty, paint warranty. It's so many units of chalk and fade per, if it's on the roof or sidewalk, varies on the location of that. Was down to the test fence last year down in Miami County, in Florida there. The Axle Nobel paint that we use, they've got pieces on the test fence that have been there for 15, 20 years. I think the Ceramistar 1050 was like, it come out 15 years ago, they have it on there. When they took the pieces off at the top, there was where it had no exposed elements to it. They just took a rag and wiped across it. Unless you knew what you was looking for, you could hardly tell if there was any fade within that. We did walk around the competitor side of things, and it wasn't quite like that. Axle Nobel, their paint, the best thing I can tell you is their focus is in the auto industry. So a lot of your auto side of things will, if you go back and do research, it consists of Axle Nobel. They're very high on their quality of paint. For an example, Sherwin-Williams is known for interior paints. You know what I'm saying? Like inside your house, your fence, or whatever. They're not, just to be honest, you know, they know they're not as equal to the exterior side of things. They don't really care because they have the interior market. You know what I'm saying? So when we chose to go with a paint company, we chose to go with an exterior paint company because it's really where we wanted to hang our hat on. You know what I'm saying? They've made, in the last 20 years, they've made some huge improvements on the paint systems, the pigments and stuff that go within the paint. That this roof right here, a standing seam roof, is truly the last roof anybody at any age will ever need. I'm saying that in 40 years, 50 years, you may see a little bit of a fade on this roof, but it's going to go together, and it's going to be minimum. I would say it's probably going to be, you're probably looking at somewhere between 70 and 80 years before you'll really see a drastic change of fade where you'll be thinking about possibly. I don't think you'll have problems with weather tightness at that point. It's going to be, you know, the cosmetic side of things, how it's looking at 70, 80 years from now. So if you're 20 years old or if you're 40 years old, you put this roof on, probably a chance you and the next generation may never have to touch that roof. So.
You provide that any touch-up thing?
Yep. Yeah. Yes, exactly the same stuff. So what we do is we'll have Axle Nobel that want to paint, they'll send us over paint cans of exactly the same paint. And then what we do is we put them into what they call touch-up markers. It's almost like a Sharpie pen. You just push it in and then let the paint, and you just kind of touch up like a fine pen marker to be touch up on. So it matches perfectly. And another thing you'll come across is someone will say, "Hey, it's scratched. I'm afraid it's going to rust." Galvalume will never rust. When you see a scratch, you may see a scratch in that roof. If you touch it up, it takes care of that. But that that Galvalume substrate will never rust. So, and we've done a roof. This has probably been 20 some years ago. We actually had a saw up there and we created hot sparks, and it kind of melted the paint on there, and it looked like it was going to rust. What happened? It iodized. We went up there with a pressure washer and just took it off there, and it took care of everything. So it was not, that was for me, it was a learning experience that it will not rust. So you'll come across that question from time to time. There is limited, and a lot of that will come down to specifications on the width of the panel. So most commonly, this is a 16-inch panel. This is what they call a 16-inch star-rated panel. Variations within it. So we can go up as far as 24 inches with this. So if you go up with 24 inches with this panel, then that limitation gets smaller. You know what I'm saying? For not having oil canning and having problems with inside of that. If you take the striations out of this panel and just have a flat pan, then also shrinks the length of that panel. So there's a lot of variations within that. You have 26 gauge is one thing, so you get one length with 26 gauge. 24 gauge is thicker metal, so you can get more length out of that. You can go down to 22 gauge and you get more length out of that. So there is a table that has those verifications in there, yeah. As far as within a home, you should never ever have any problems unless you go with a flat pan. If you have a flat pan, I would definitely always question that. Everything that gets a flat pan that we would produce, we usually have a waiver signed off saying that there's a chance of oil canning, because it's just, there's no way of getting around it. What was that? Yes. This variations will give that panel strength to keep that oil canning from happening. And then too, it's you'll see our standard colors, our frost colors, and our matte series. To kind of give you a little bit of a differential there, our standard colors come with a 30% gloss retention. The matte series and the frost has a 5% gloss retention. This is a matte series here. This is called an Onyx Matte Black. This will, if you would take this here and versus a standard color and put it side by side in 10 to 15 years from now, first thing that will leave will be that gloss retention. You'll start to lose that sheen. So this matte series is going to look nicer, longer than what the standard colors is because of that. The matte series at the test fence and the frost series is holding up. No one can believe how it's holding up. This is what they call an SMP, a silicone modified polyester coating. There's a Kynar paint system, if anyone knows. That is a soft paint. It's the most, you have Trinar, you have Fluorpon, you have different, that is a really, really highly recognized paint. This matte series is, I think, 2 years away from meeting the qualifications of that paint system as far as withstanding the elements. So that's how much they've improved the paint system just from that side of it. This is a matte series. This is what they call Onyx matte. And another thing too is, people wonder what's the difference as far as from a frost or the matte series. The frost has a texture. So like if you're doing like under the porch of your home or something like that, it looks nice. The matte series from the roof and frost series, you won't be able to tell the difference. You won't be able to see that texture from the floor unless you get right up on the roof. The texture has a tendency to hold a little bit of dust, where the matte's a smooth finish. It'll stay a little bit cleaner. Really, the only two things different between the products. We ran 70-foot panels on there. That's what I'm saying. Like you can, you shouldn't get into too many problems with a 16-inch panel starting to use them. Oh. Yeah, aluminum will expand a lot more than what metal does. Yeah. So I would think, on a 40-foot panel, you may get a 3/8, quarter to 3/8 at the most. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reason why, if you got standing seam, everything is made to do that. So that's going to help, you know, with the clip system, with this being hemmed like that, it can move and go back and forth and not causing an oil change. Where if you're putting a snap lock and you've got it secured, you know, some of the employees or some of the roofers have over fastened the fasteners and locking it down, then all of a sudden you just got it popping everywhere. You know what I mean? That's the reason why we offer the mechanical seam at that same price point, to try to eliminate any of that ever to happen. We'll turn this around. We'll show you guys a little bit of the sidewall and the chimney flashing detail here. And we'll just, hello. We actually have a trailer that we outfit the whole trailer. It has the seamers in it, has notchers, it has everything within the trailer. But yes, we have the seamers. So if anything would ever become an issue or something like that, that you guys would need the seamers, or someone, you know, would have to have any tools or whatever, we can take care of that. Yeah. And the seamers used to be a big electric thing that ran up and down the roof, and now they've got them to where you can just put it in the drill and you just walk up the roof. It's cordless. And it's amazing with where it's going in just 5 years, let alone 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Any other questions on this here before we turn it around? Yep. Yep. And as you see, like these rib lines line up. You know what I'm saying? You transfer on through. That's a number one sign of someone installing that knew what was going on. Something similar. If you go out and you want to really try to find fault on someone's install side of things, you can look on how the panels are laid out, like from here to here, from here to here. If someone's laid out their roof line and took some time to do a layout, you'll be able to tell that these things line up. You know what I'm saying? Most people don't catch it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not looking for that, and it's not a big deal, but you'll be able to pick things up like that. If I'm out there looking at a roof, where I can soon tell, like, that install team took a lot of time to lay this roof out. When they're laying roofs out on the standing seam side of things, one of the most common things they'll do is they'll try to locate where there's a pipe and make sure this panel falls in the flat of that panel. So when you put this across there, the water transfers it on. If someone don't care and this falls in the center here, it's doable, but you're exposing yourself to a little bit of liability by doing that. So most commonly when they lay this thing, when they lay it out, they'll hook on one side or the other and lay out 16 inches on the center, and then make so this falls in the flat of the panel. Some of that can be prevented, some of it can't. Sometimes you have 3 or 4 pipes on the house, and then you just got to deal with the one, and you'd rather deal with one than deal with 3, I guess. So, but yeah, is there any other questions here, or we'll turn this on around and we can work on this? We have a chimney here, and this is more or less like a skylight detail. The chimney and the skylight flashing high detail you can see is on the top side there. This is that flashing piece that we were talking about earlier as far as eliminating the cricket. Yeah. You mean as far as 36? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So what most of the code will come back to, they'll say it'll come down to manufacturing specs. So if our manufacturing specs say it's not required, then you're okay with that. Yeah. So that's a good question.
You guys are altering the skylight at all?
No. Yep. So as you can see here, this flashing detail comes on past the sidewall. Sidewall trim here. And then so we're not getting the water to come directly on the back side of this panel. We're hitting here and coming across. We're keeping the water 5 inches away from hitting that direct chimney or skylight detail. We're redirecting it back here. The water, if you want, you can take a look at it, but there's nothing restricting it back at this point, you know what I'm saying? And it's hemmed up here even further yet. So, that is a platinum design. I think there's been a few manufacturers have copied that product. As far as I know, we was one of the first ones to bring it to the market. That is the best option. We've already done deck mount, but man, does it expose it. Like, it makes it very, very challenging to make that watertight. What we typically do on the curb mount on the skylights, we usually take a 2x6, turn it on edge. We'll take that 2x6 and make it flush with the inside of the drywall of that skylight. And then we'll take a 1x8 poplar or clear board on the inside of that 2x6. And then that overlaps that joint. And then we always say it's up to the customer to finish that to whatever liking they want, whether they want to paint it, stain it, whatever they want to do with that. Yeah. And then this, as you can see, this detail would be up to the top of the skylight, all the way around. And then when we put our curb mount skylight across that, everything is watertight. Like, it's very, keeps it very, very simple, very watertight.
When you're doing, would you recommend that we just do the facial before you guys come back?
That's the best.
Yeah, that's what I think too, right?
No, it's not. It's 26 gauge. It's pretty solid. It's better off if it's straight, because what we'll do is if someone doesn't want to do it, they say, hey, just go across existing. What we're going to do is find out where the points are and snap a line on that deck, and then we're just going to keep a straight line. Yeah. There's no way, of us trying to accommodate that. And then at that point, you're going to see voids on the bottom side of that, wherever that's going in and out of. It's going to be a challenge. Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. Yeah.
So you typically getting gutter work before you guys do your metal work?
Usually after. Usually after, yeah.
So are they not able to punch the gutter after?
Yeah, they can. Yeah. 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 And most commonly, with the metal roof, it usually comes a 6-inch gutter, which I think down in this area, you guys pretty much sell. That's all you sell anyway, 6-inch gutter. A little further north is, in between here in Michigan, there's a 5 and a 6-inch, and they'll get it figured out one day and they'll all be 6. But until they do, why there's that option up our way. Yeah. But the metal roof, water has a tendency to run off of the metal roof a little quicker, so you'll want to have a 6-inch gutter to help catch that. Do we have any stories?
You would design that flat window like one that's built up and through the pitch there.
We have.
So it doesn't hit the degrees.
We have done that as well. Gets a little bit intense.
Oh, yeah. I come back, but that's probably a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
You filled this up with something right here? Did you ever live off of snow? Oh, okay. Well, if they created this flashing with a stick on it, to keep the green stuff and stick on it.
But we do, it gets pretty intense. It gets expensive. Like, for the most part, if it's a small chimney, like, you get water or anything, that's going to push it off. In every scenario is just a little bit different. And then what we'll getting ready to talk about here next is snow retention. So if you're not careful on a metal roof, what happens is if you get snow on here, once it starts to go fast. The steeper the roof, the more issues you're going to have with it taking off your gutter. For an example, if you have a 6-inch gutter out here like this, and that snow is coming down, it's catching a lot of force coming off of there. So we recommend that it's a good idea to put some sort of a snow retention. Anything that's above a 612, you know what I'm saying? If it's under 612, if you just want to put it over your doorways, your garage doors, whatever, that's a very good, you still want to put it over those scenarios, because if that's a 14-foot span or 12-foot span, 16 inches, and it's got 2-3 inches of snow on it, that lets loose and it comes down, you're going to know something hit you if you're standing there. So snow retention is a big thing. That's actually for state code. That's, yeah, based on the manufacturing specs. Yeah. And a lot of things on like ice and water, even on like specs, they'll ask for high temp underlayments and things like that. So we have to follow suit with what that consists of, you know what I'm saying? So there's some things that we can't, like we have to abide by. There's some things that manufacturing, if they make something that's better than what code's putting out there, then they're okay with that. You know what I'm saying? That's why they'll reflect back to manufacturing specs. That's a preference. It doesn't, you know, the S5 on the standing seam roof is probably a little better system than the individual. The individual will help, the individual piece, it helps break it up a little bit, but it doesn't really stop it. You have the S5, and there's actually a snow piece that goes on here. So the idea of this S5 is when this snow comes down here, it sits here and it melts and it goes underneath and into your gutter. The individual piece, what that's meant to do is to break it up to where you're not having a big chunk coming down. It's not going to keep it from coming down. So there's two differentials there. And there's also, you know, the cosmetic look. Do you like this or do you like the other, the aesthetic side of things of having it? What's that? This would cause, yes, that's actually a good thing within the metal roofing side of things, is to have it here and have it melt and get into your gutter. Because if it's coming off the roof, depends on how big it is, it's going to be making a pile, or it could be damaging your landscaping or whatever it is that's below there. You know what I'm saying? You can imagine if this is, you know, 3 inches of snow and it's just the guards itself are just breaking it up and it's just keep putting it down there on the pile, and it happens, you know, 2 or 3 times before it all melts. It could leave a pretty good chunk down there. Well, here, you know, it's just melting and getting into the gutters and getting away. So that's really the only two differences on that side of things. Yeah. You can get the S5 within the Through-fasten, but it's not, it doesn't make, I don't want to say it doesn't make sense, but as far as falling within the exposed fastener, we have what they call a standard snow rail. That's a Through-fasten snow rail. Yes, yes, because this here is not a Through-fasten. This is basically you fasten it to the side of the panels. So this right here, you know, is running somewhere, you know, between 20 and $30 a foot. You know what I'm saying, to have it and get it installed. Where the others is somewhere probably about $10 a foot. You know what I'm saying, to kind of give you a different aspect of the standing seam roof is a premium product, so you don't want to take a Through-fasten snow rail system to this. You know what I'm saying?
We're not purling your block through.
No. Yep, just crimson. Yep. It's a little, it's almost like a little bullet that's a little bit at the end of it. You can actually, it'll actually just do a little indentation, and it locks it into there. That's, probably not a safety deal, but you could actually walk on the back side of that thing. If those are every 16 inches secure like that, it's not coming off there. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is I don't think S5 tells you that you can, harness off to it or something like that, I guess is what I meant by that. But yeah. Okay, so yeah, so if this was a masonry, so what would happen, we would do this here first, and then what we do is we have what they call counter flashing. So what we'll do is we'll snap a line on that masonry, and we'll take a grinding wheel and we'll cut back. And then what we would do next is we would take that, we'd fill that up with sealant, and then we have what they call like an open hem on that flashing detail. So the top side's open, it's like a V. So when you push it inside there, it locks it. So when you pull it out, you actually, you got to literally tear it apart, tear it out of there. You know what I'm saying? And then that, we don't make that wide if we don't have to, unless we're trying to cover up some old flashing. So if it's only a 3 inch, if that's only 3 inches, by us putting that in there, we may put a pop rivet on each corner. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So try to minimize as much as we can. And we'll be only like pop riveting into this here, which is secured to this, so it kind of ties everything all in one unit. Same thing with sidewall detail, in-wall detail. Same thing with the counter flash. We'll put a straight line on there and notch that in. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We have tight bond. Called tight bond is what we use, matching the silicone. It's specifically made for metal roofing components. If you search tight bond, you'll find out that it's a very good product, and they specifically make the product for metal roofing components. Other than that, I don't know if anyone else has any other questions. Half 12. So if we get down to half 12, or once we get below a 112 pitch, we do what they call what they call a hot melt on the bottom side of this. It's like a sealant that will go on the bottom side of this panel. So when you overlap it, it's almost like you put a bead of caulk before you put before you put the next panel on. They have like a bead of caulk on. You put that on there, and when you hem that, it actually just gives it a layer of sealant underneath that. So just in case, just another layer of being, proactive with trying to prevent anything from happening. So, and there, we really, use that even if it's not that. We got a long span of, let's say a 40-foot panel. It's a long run. It's only maybe a 212 as a precautionary measure. We may say, hey, it would be a good idea. Let's put that hot melt on there as a precautionary measure. But, yeah, so. That would be the only thing that changes from once it gets below a 312 pitch. Sometimes we'll weigh the option of what the project looks like. If we determine we need it or whatever, sometimes we'll just put it on ourselves just to make sure that we're being prevented with causing any issues. We've been roll forming for a little over 4 years. We've been installing roofs for probably 30 years almost. Hard to believe it's that long ago, but that's where it goes. That's where we took the expertise of installing side of things. Well, when we really kind of come into roll forming was we've seen a really big uptick on metal sales in residential properties, and it was. Well, and I think Daniel maybe said it best. It was like the wild west out there. It was just everywhere, all different gauges, all different. It was just a mess, is what was happening. So we decided that we need to train this thing and get it down to where we have systems and create a really good roofing system for the homeowners that's going to last for what they're willing to pay to put on their roof. So we feel really, really good with what the product line that the customers getting. At the end of the day, that's who we want to make happy. If we make them happy, everybody's going to be happy. You know? We do a little bit. We're more or less the tri-state area. We get up into Michigan, over in Ohio. We've been over in Illinois a little bit, but we don't get as far as product availability, that's no problem. But as far as the labor arm, we run our limitations within the labor arm side of things when we go to that. We say within the 3-hour radius of Fort Wayne, you know what I'm saying, is kind of what we like to try to hold to. We do travel a little bit further than that from time to time, but yeah. Metal roof game everywhere needs a little bit of help. So we'll try to do the best we can with Indiana and Ohio first, and we'll go from there. Yeah. Warranty issues become a big factor. Yep. And then what happens is you start losing out on your customer service, and you need to be careful with that. It can soon get out of hand real fast. But yeah, other than that, I don't know I have anything much more to say on the install side of things, unless you guys have more questions.
No signs of leaking internally, but what do you guys kind of do? Maybe some more skill testing. How do you kind of go around and park the tear off,
Well, the one thing about it is, like, if your decking is a little bit soft and you're doing an exposed fastener, layover or whatever, those 1x4s will carry them soft areas. So what you would want to verify there is make sure your structure is sound. So we'll be fastening our 1x4s to the structure. If that's sound and the wave is in between there, and everything's okay, with no leaking and everything like that. Because there's occasionally you'll come across the product where there's only had like a 3/8 decking, or you know what I'm saying, where the 1x4s are structurally sound to carry that from 24-inch span, so you won't have to worry about tearing that all off. You know what I'm saying? That's more of how the contractor wants to sell the project at that point, more than it is on us figuring out, what's structure. Yeah, that's what we aim for. I'm not saying that occasionally something doesn't miss or something, but that's right. Right. Okay. All right. Well, we can move on in. What's the number one question that comes up when you guys are out selling a metal roof? What's the biggest thing that creates the obstacle course, I guess? It's not cheaper, but it's getting it's more affordable now than it's ever been. As far as when you're looking at it being cheaper, you're looking at it over a 3-year period, or if you're looking at over a 25-year period of lifetime. You know what I'm saying? So to kind of give you an idea of where I'm going with that is, you're starting to see multi-home complexes, apartment complexes, and them really saying, hey, a 25% upfront cost of putting a metal roof on is 30%, and getting double the longevity out of that roof. So now I don't have to deal with telling my tenants, that we're going to do this in the next 15, 20 years or whatever it may be. So they're starting to see the value of what the metal roof is bringing to the table from that perspective. So, as far as someone saying, hey, this is a starter home. I like to have a metal roof price. Do you feel that am I going to get the best value of metal versus shingle? Well, if they're going to stay there within, the first 3 to 5 years, they're probably not going to get the true value out of that metal roof, just being 100% honest. If they're saying, hey, this is the home we bought, this is his plan, this is what we're planning on calling home, staying here for 20 plus years, we don't see anything changing, and they're going to get value out of that metal roof. There's a hold resale value, it does hold resale value, but there's also, a window of, that first 5 years of, if you go resale, you're probably not going to get your true value out of that upfront expense. So. That was an interesting question. I wasn't anticipating that there right out of the gate. I was anticipating something like, well, why are you guys that much more than the box store side of things? So that's usually what we get hit with. It's like, well, I can go down to the box store down here and we can get it for this. How's that you guys are charging this? So it's kind of, we talked a little bit about it on the install side of things. The product that Platinum brings to the table is the 26 gauge trim line with the 28 gauge panel line, the Through-fasten I'm talking about here. When we first started, we was the only one in the state to offer that. I think that it has changed and that will continue to change because of, like I was saying, every one of those fasteners can be put in 100% correctly. And if that piece of trim's got a wave in it, makes the whole job look bad. The 26 gauge trim line, the installer can take that one piece at 12 foot long and install it. Doesn't have to worry about picking it up and then folding in half. You know what I'm saying? Another thing is, like I was saying earlier, is from Platinum side of things, if you go to the box store and you order your product, even a lot of the competitors, like I was saying, is the metal manufacturing came up through the sector through the ag market. When they built their machinery years ago, and even some today yet, the machinery is built to a 412 spec. So they're producing, when they're mass producing their trims, whatever, it's coming out of the 412 pit. So what happens is they're selling it and you're taking it out there and you're trying to take a 412 piece of trim and smash it over a 612 or an 812 or 1212 roof. And you're trying to get a good looking product out of that. Where when we manufacture it, it's made, like I said, we bend it to the angle of the roof. Even if it gets to a 12 pitch or 10-12 pitch, we'll actually make some of those trim components a little bigger to accommodate that angle to make sure that we're not trying to have to make it look like we're smashing it over the top or trying to make it look like it's you just pieced it in and made it fit, you know what I'm saying? So that's a very common question that we come across of is like, how can you guys be this far? There can't be this much difference. Well, there can be this much difference depending on a lot of little things that add up to get that accomplished. It's a simple thing as far as closures, vented closures. The vented closures are, for an example, that piece, the one piece of vented closure there, the individual pieces, we'll just use simple math. That could be $10 a piece, or you could get a roll of that stuff that you put on there for $30, and that covers 20 feet, you know what I'm saying? So, if someone just wants to run things off and that's all they want, they'll find, that's the difference that you get. We had a call back on the roof in Angola that you just had the rolled ridge bench, you didn't have the sealant on the bottom, and they had a leak going on. And I think it was right at a 312. First thing we did was we looked up and we took the ridge cap. You could tell the ridge cap, when we took it up, that the water was sifting underneath that ridge vent and it was getting in behind there. And the whole bottom side of that roof was actually wet. It was mind-boggling. It was just the simple thing of they paid a little bit less to get the roof done, and then hindsight it's always 20/20, but it was a bit of painstaking there. They had a lot of water. When they first called, they said they had 3 5-gallon buckets of water inside their home. I was like, man, that's a big deal. So it was surprising. I think it caught everyone off guard. It was just a simple thing as the ridge vent that was causing the problem. And it was But again, it was a low slope, so that caused, didn't help matters. Had that been a 7, 8, 12 pitch, it probably never would have caused an issue. So, so yeah, as the fasteners, as far as what's getting, what's securing your panel to the roof. Another big thing is the 1x4s on a through-fasten roof. Probably 90% of the roofs this way going south down through Indy, they're not getting 1x4s put on the roof. They're only trying to fasten this thing through a 1/2 inch, 7/16 decking that's 15, 20 years old. If someone really knows what they're doing and knows when to stop when they're putting that fastener down, they can probably get it to seal up for 3 to 5 years. What happens with the heat and the cold and the seasonal weather that we have, the panel comes and goes, it'll lose that seal and it'll start leaking. That's why when we put down the 1x4s, we're getting a really, really good bite on that, and it's creating a good seal. The 1x4s add cost, you know what I'm saying? So therefore, that's, we're looking at another factor why we're more than the competitors, you know what I'm saying? Some things that you really want to make sure that comparing apples to apples on that side of things. I can tell you that if someone compares apples to apples, it's going to be very, very competitive with the price point. Something that we could definitely put together there. Yeah. Yeah. And another thing is the myth is we hear this from time to time, is a metal roof noisy? Can you hear it more? We've been told it's a noisy roof. Look, that comes back up through the agriculture side of things. When you walked into a barn or a storage building and it had a metal roof, there wasn't a thermal break, good chance. It just went straight up to the, yes, you're going to hear that. You put it in your home, on your home, and you have a thermal break, it's almost the same as an asphalt roof. If you have a heavy treacherous downpour, you're going to hear, even on an asphalt roof. So it's the same thing with the metal roof. You're going to hear it to a certain degree, but it's not any noisier than an asphalt roof. You know what I'm saying? So the second one is you hear often is metal roof that's going to be hot. It's going to make my attic very warm. That is not the case. The pigments and things that they put in the roof in the paint system now that reflect the heat. Just this past July, we was up at a lake and we did 2 properties. One was a metal roof and one was a shingle roof. And I asked the contractor, I says, do you mind going with me up in the attic? I said, I'd like to see the differential within what attic is cooler if it's asphalt versus metal. And it was the metal roof was about 8 degrees cooler in that attic than it was on the shingle roof. So what happens is the shingle roof is an asphalt roof. So over time, when it brings in heat, it absorbs it and it holds it. So a metal roof, it may bring in heat right through the evening as the temperatures cool down, it loses it as fast as it brings it in. So therefore, if you get 3 days where it's 90 degrees or 5 days, that asphalt roof is baking and it's holding that heat throughout the evening and into the next morning. So that attic is just keeps on sizzling there. You know what I'm saying? Keeps on adding heat in there. Where the metal roof, it cools down, so your attic cools down inside of that. So there again, there was a myth there of not having that thermal break in there that was creating, that side of things, which is not, it's not the case. Your attic will actually be cooler with a metal roof than what it will be with the asphalt roof.
And does that help us fight things off a little bit of condensation? Either between the existing roof and the metal or the metal?
As long as you have a thermal break, you should never have an issue with condensation. Because wherever your thermal break is, that's where your hot and your cold transfer. If your thermal break is hitting the bottom of your panel, you're going to have condensation problems. But if you have your thermal break at 9 foot and your panel is at 12 foot, you should never have an issue with that being condensation. Now, if you have, your thermal break at 9 foot and you have insulation that's pulled pulled away and your heat's transferring through getting to that, then you're probably going to have an issue with condensation. Well, I don't know. So, well, what I'm saying is asphalt will take a little longer to create that condensation than what metal will. Yep. Yeah, I think the first thing we did, we found out there was the attic access. It was down from the ceiling about maybe anywhere from a half inch to an inch, and that heat was transferring through that and up into the attic and getting to the bottom of the panel. And the bottom of the panel was just dripping. Well, it was because of the heat loss. Well, they went through and they fixed that, and then we were still having issues. Well, the kitchen light was it might have been about a 4-foot square. Well, that was recessed into the attic, and there was no insulation across that, and that light was actually, when it was on, was creating heat, and it was heating up the whole attic. So it was just like creating a condensation up there. So that was where we said we have to get insulation across the top of that there to create that thermal break from getting to the bottom of that panel. Because we had ventilation, we took a smoke gun up there, and you could, you held it up there, you could see that the air was transferring through. So as long as you have ventilation and thermal break, you should never have an issue with condensation in the metal roof. Yeah. We put ridge vent in every roof system that we have. Occasionally, on some of the commercial side of things, the ridge may not be long enough, and they'll ask to vent like the hip cap or whatever, you know what I mean? So we can do the same procedure going up through there. So we're trying to get more of a ventilation going on within the roof system. So we've done that. You can't tell the difference that it's just that you use a benzene mold there instead of a solid mold. We have to be careful with that again once we get to a certain slope. If we get a too low pitch on that slope of that roof line, we may not be able to do that because of weather tightness, detail there to keep it watertight. Yeah. Never. Yeah, that's a good question, and I think maybe 25 years ago that was more, that could have been some of that. But today's society and the way they've got things set up, I haven't heard that be an issue as of late, I guess. I'll ask the installers from time to time, like, what's the homeowner's reaction when they get a metal roof? And they'll say, well, when they have a through-fasten metal roof, they're like, wow, it looks nice, thanks, and turned out well. But when they get a standing seam roof, they get done, they're like, that looks amazing. I was anticipating it looking nice, but not to the degree it does. They're really, really ecstatic about it. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about that standing seam roof is it'll carry on for a long, long time. It almost feels like about 2 years ago, there was a lot of through-fasten roofs put in, like up to then. And it seems like here in the last 2 years, the standing seam has just been going like a rocket ship. And I think what happens or what's happening is, like, their friend has put a standing seam roof in, and they have people over to watch a game or whatever it may be, and they're like, wow, where does that roof come from? What's that roof consist of? And they're like, if I get a roof, my next roof, that's what I want. Like, so you're starting to hear, I hear it from contractors and different salespeople. People are talking more like, I want to talk about standing seam. Which 10 years ago, nobody even wanted to talk about metal hardware. You know what I'm saying? So you see the trajectory of what the standing seam roof, where it's going and what's going to happen. This is not going to go away anytime soon. You're probably going to see more even in the near future, start to see more of the metal siding products come available in different formats, and that will really bring some nice product availability to homeowners. You'll see some, just like you see standing seam, you're going to start seeing some seamless siding that'll be rolled out from corner to corner. It'll be rolled out just like the standing seam in the job site, things like that. They'll have board and batten product lines that'll be out there that's going to really start to shake up the market there. So metal's not going away anytime soon. It's only going to get bigger. If they're projecting a 3% growth year over year for the next 8 years on the metal side of things, so that's a pretty big number. We'll see how it all plays out here. You guys have the color card, and we're having new ones made out. I think there's a total of 42 colors on there. So there's a pretty wide variation on there. Sometimes it's probably too many. Sometimes we wish we didn't have that many, but it is what it is. It's almost like gutters and downspouts. You know, you can just go on. And customers, they like to have the option to be able to choose from 3 shades of brown. You know what I'm saying? 3 shades of tan. You know, and this goes on, I guess. But, so yeah, and all those on our color card, those are all in stock. So you know, we often get questions, hey, is this color in stock? Do you guys have that or whatever? If it's on that card, it's in stock. So we carry that all in-house there. So. Yes. Yep. When you get to Kynar finish or the Trinar or the floor ponds, we call it the Kynar. You know, those finishes, sometimes if you get into that, the lead times do get a little bit longer on that side of things because that's a specialty product. You know. Can we get, if someone has a existing building and they want to match exactly the same color, we can do that. It becomes a specialty product. The price of that product goes up and the lead time gets longer on something like that. You know what I'm saying? But it is doable. So just the same thing with like trim components. You know, people may say, well, can we get this here done up in this format, or can we get this done? You can put it on paper. There's a really good chance we can get it made. You know what I'm saying? It's just that it may take a little bit longer, and the cost of that goes up to be able to accomplish. For the most part, yeah, we're always making improvements on that. I know you'll start seeing some improvements here in the next month. Our trim lines are we're going to bring it out in roof sections, so like roof systems. So like a Platinum Pro, you get on there, you go down to your resource tab. You'll be having your sales sheet, your technical sheet. There'll be a trim sheet within inside of that and things like that. So a lot of it should be. We're going to make some improvements on weather tight warranties. You're going to get a good, better, best. You'll have a 10-year weather tight warranty, a 15-year weather tight warranty, and a 20-year weather tight warranty. What a weather tight warranty consists of, it's not speaking of the longevity of the panel. The weather tight warranty is basically consisting of a labor warranty that goes with that product. So the weather tight warranty, if it's stating a 20-year weather tight warranty, what that's saying is, you know, once you have your paper, the roof's installed and the warranty's filled out, Platinum Metals will issue a 20-year weather tight warranty. So if you have any leaks or anything within 20 years at no cost, Platinum's coming out and getting those resolved. Not saying that your roof is going to fail in 20 years. We're only staying behind the roof for 20 years. You know what I'm saying? It's going to last way longer than that. But that's what a weather tight warranty consists of. It's not consisting of the product itself. It's basically a labor warranty for that roof system. And we won't, you know, you'll be able to see, like, we won't offer the 20-year weather tight warranty for a through-fasten panel. Like, that's just, you know, there's too many elements in there that could go wrong within in 20 years, so we don't feel comfortable with doing that. But now the standing seam side of things, yeah, we're good with that. That's the reason why we offer high temp boots, you know what I'm saying? Like those, you know, we're saying those will last 40 years. We're standing behind them for 20 years at minimum, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the different things that we use to make that roof, we feel 100% confident it's going to last, you know, above 20 years. If not, we're going to make it right with whoever has our roof system installed. You know, that's usually us when we're in house, you know, installing that, we can control that. So, you know, as Platinum expands, we certify contractors, and they'll be able to offer that, you know, through within their own install side of things if they want to do installs in house, but they'd have to get the certification from Platinum to be able to offer at that point. So, but as Kingdom right now, you know, we're the labor arm for that, so we take care of that all in house if that comes up or if we need to have that done. So that kind of explaining what a weather-tight warranty consists of, I guess.
Other than website, do you have any values and more projects that you guys have finished?
We have a lot of jobs that we have finished, a lot of products. We try to be careful that we don't use too much of each other contractors' photos on our website. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't, because the contractors a lot of times like to take their own photos and be able to use that for marketing purposes. And we want to be careful that we're not exposing their marketing pieces to other contractors. You see what I'm saying? So the other contractors aren't taking those photos and saying, here's the roof, you know what I'm saying? So we try to be careful with that side of things. So if a contractor needs some photos or something like that, we'll gladly provide them. We just don't want to put them out there and create a conflict of interest within the contractor side of things.
So maybe you have to sales reps here have a wall on the wall.
We're open to see what we can do as far as what we can help out with wall applications. We have a PBR system, which is a commercial line wall application. We use an Ultra Pro panel for a wall application. We have a board and batten. We have different applications that we can help with. I would advise that, you know, just make a phone call to Platinum and we can work through that as far as getting an estimate or advise what's the best scenario of getting it accomplished. We didn't really touch base too much on the PBR panel. That's another through-fasten. That's a commercial grade panel, but it's also like on steel structure buildings. You'll see them on the roof and in the sidewalls. We offer that. We have that. But yeah, any sidewall metal applications that if someone's interested in, feel free to reach out. We don't advertise that. We don't market that on our website or push that as of right now, just because it's a whole nother animal. We're really focusing on trying to get the roofing aspect things dialed in, running really smooth. So when we go to that we can kind of let the roofing take care of itself. But we do offer it. Yes. What's the biggest obstacle of selling a metal roof? Is it price point driven? Or, yeah, price is the number one obstacle? Yeah, we could probably put 2 or 3 sheets together almost like that. I don't know. That's probably what we'll do. We'll probably put 2 or 3 of those together and we'll let Daniel and guys come together with how they want to lay out that format and what they want to include, what they don't want to include, you know, as far as selling that in that point. It just didn't know as far as if, so to be 100% honest, on a standing seam metal roof, you should really have no maintenance on it. But the contractors like to put this maintenance program together to be able to keep servicing, keep intact and things like that. So as platinum metals, we stay out of that whole realm of things. Each contractor does their setup and their maintenance program and things accordingly to their liking. But as far as that roof that had maintenance and inspections and things like that, honestly, it's not necessary. Like it'll perform and it'll just keep performing. But I don't want to take that maintenance program away from a contractor. If that's what they're setting up and that's how they want to do business, that's to their liking. You know what I'm saying? But like from platinum side of things, if I was being 100% honest and transparent, you don't have to maintain that roof in order to keep it weathertight. A lot of that leads back to like this lifetime warranty, double lifetime warranty things that are out there. Within those stipulations, that's what they're saying. You have to maintain your roof. If you fail to have your maintenance inspection in 5 years or every 2 years, it voids the warranty once. That's the reason it's in there. That's why they want it in that way. So,
You guys, like I was kind of want to keep it going. And you know that fact is that it is kind of development of it, but how does that work?
whenever you come across that, the best thing that we found out is saying, call your whatever your leak filter, your gutter helmet, whoever your provider of leak filtration is. Verify them with what they're feel comfortable with, installing after the metal roof has been put on. You know what I'm saying? We've already taken it off. We don't like to put it back on if it comes to one of those type of gutter helmets, leak filters, because we know what the warranty consists of and when it can bring, trouble back to the customer. So we really try to tell the customer, whoever you had install it, verify, call them, verify what they're good with, make sure you're okay with it. We're okay with taking it off, putting it back on, but it's probably going to void the warranty, you know what I'm saying?
This is also that thing you guys have on the filming.
Yes.
Gutter helmet comes back out, but false panel on the end, so I'll have it,
Yeah. But the thing of the one thing of it is there's really no need to get up underneath our panel. Like an asphalt shingle, that's one thing. A lot of times what we'll see is they'll actually take that and they'll bend it down. And they'll actually, that back side will be sitting on top of the gutter brackets. And the water just comes across the top of that instead of trying to get it up underneath there. No. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to try to assume the gutter helmet or leak filter liability on the warranty side of things. So, who's sold a metal roof in here that's had the experience, the platinum experience? That's aware of. How was the customer when they was done? Good. Good. Yeah, that's we hear that a lot. We've actually heard contractors saying that I want to sell more metal because I get less complaints. It's how you want to say, you're doing a layover or whatever. We're not tearing off the shingles. In Indiana State Code, you can do a one layer. As long as one layer on there and things look good, we can do we can lay right over it. We're saving the landfill. You know what I mean? Another good selling point as far as, hey, price is more, okay, our cost of material does cost more. Have you considered about the next, the next generation coming up? How much are we putting in our landfills with these asphalt shingles? Let's think about the little bit of the cost difference that this metal roof is going to cost when you take it off, and whatever it may be, that it can be recycled. Think about think about things, the small things that are adding up here. Right now we're in the peace of mind that what's costing us more. But let's think about the next generations coming up, about what we're putting up there that's going to help save the environment of what we're doing here also. So it's another nice, selling thing, a bullet point that we can talk about within the conversation of why we should be considering putting a metal roof on. Anyone else have anything? So if you had that experience, you feel confident in trying to sell the next metal roof?
Yeah, it just seems like, just the cost, we're flat going to, like, we're comparing that to 50 years, the return on investment, it seems like people that are self motivated, they've had the money and that's what they want. They don't necessarily interested in, like, what they're using on the return on investment, it's just that they have the pocketbook and that's just the experience they want to
Yep.
work on. I mean, that, I guess that's the hardest thing to overcome is, the return on investment. How long are you going to be in that house? Are you going to, in your lifetime, are you going to put 2 or 3 roofs on your house? This is the last one. You're targeting someone that's young, that's buying a house, that's going to stay there longevity. But when you go into a house that's 60 years, 70 years old, that was one I told you, like, I've always wanted another roof, so put another roof on.
Mm-hmm.
When you got the money at 70, you got to put that metal roof on rather than someone at 20, 25 that just bought the first house that needs a roof. So I guess at the end of the day, the biggest objection is just the cost. Overcoming the cost, creating those value and quality that really comes up on it.
I think I'll try to help put some of that together too, as far as, the overall cost. When you're looking at the overall cost, are we taking in consideration when you let an insurance company know what's the break on the premium? So, I mean, it's already saving cost at the point today the roof gets on. If the insurance is knocking off, so much a month on our payment, so much a year on our overall premium of our product, you know what I'm saying? What's the energy efficiency within the metal roof versus the shingle roof? So what are, you know what I'm saying, is like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you'll have some of the gentlemen, some of the homeowners will say, well, I'm 50 years old, I don't need a metal roof. But then they'll say, well, what about the next of kin? You have plans for that or what? There's a resale value here. So, if you hold on to your roof, if you live here 10 years, you're going to get the value out of this, because not only you got the value of the roof, but the resale value at that point, it holds up. You know what I'm saying? The breaking point is somewhere between that 5 and 10 year window of getting your ROI on that metal roof. It just needs, from the sounds of it, just needs to be broke down to where they can see it through from multiple angles instead of just the one lump sum up front cost point. Which I'll work on helping get that put together, and I'll send that over here to the team so they can divide it out how they see fit. And as far as like what you were saying, is the homeowner was happy and ecstatic about it. It also gives you confidence going in and selling the next product, knowing that that customer was happy and well taken care of, that they're going to get the same results. That's good. That's what we want to hear, and that's what we strive for. If it's anything other than that, well, we definitely want to know that also. Yeah, well, anyone else have anything else? Like I said, we'll put some literature and stuff together and we'll send it over. Put it over to Daniel and the team, and They can break it out however they want to break it out, and then go from there. The coating system, metal, going over a metal surface is basically putting a band-aid over it. Have that application. So, yeah, I would think if you come across that and the customer is wanting to have coating, price on coating or something put across the roof, give us a phone call and let us give them the price. I think they'll be pleasantly surprised at how efficient that price point is. Yeah.
I didn't know that this was so easy and complex enough. It was way cheaper than what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So, you guys remember those big industrial buildings with metal and the other concrete sheet? Trying to do a coating system. This price can be right there when you got now the price. You can fan, structural timber.
Yeah. 5 foot.
5 foot burden. You can walk it. So you don't have to call them up and get a price on those instead of coding.
Good question. All right. Well, other than that, I think there was supposed to be some pizza here sometime between 11:30 and 11:45 for the crew. And want to say thanks to everyone that took the time off to sit in on this. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. And if you have any concerns or any questions, I think everyone at Kingdom has the opportunity to get a hold of Platinum at any time. I know we may be busy from time to time, but leave a message. We're pretty much open house with our team here has multiple different contacts in order to get to us, but we really hang our hat on getting a fast response and taking care of our customers, which is your customers. So the more we can take care of your customers, the more business we're all going to have. So we definitely want to do that. So been quite an experience. It's been now 3 years since we've come aboard with Kingdom. Amazing where it's going. It's exciting where it's going to go. So this metal side of things is just really just scratching the surface. It's going to keep gaining traction and get you guys on to something there that's going to keep things continuing on up the ladder.